All right, so today we're going to dig into a blueprint for learning the programming language R. But listen, this isn't just another explainer about syntax and commands. We're looking at a course that's designed to do one thing: make you a job-ready, day-one-ready informatics data analyst. Let's see how they pull it off. So here's a question I bet a lot of you have asked yourselves. You spend all this time, all this money, learning a new tech skill. You get the certificate, you feel good about it, and then you hit the job market, and crickets? You're just not prepared. So what's the deal? What's that missing piece between learning to code and actually being ready for a real analytics role? Well, it all comes down to what we call the real-world skills gap. You see, there's this massive, and I mean massive, disconnect between how things are taught in a classroom and what employers actually need, what they're desperate for from their new hires in the data reporting world. And this slide just lays it out so perfectly, right? On the left, you've got the typical academic approach. It's all about perfect syntax, squeaky clean data sets, and these kind of theoretical problems. But then look at the right side. That's the real world. Employers need you to focus on the entire workflow, to wrestle with messy, incomplete data, and to solve practical business problems, all while being totally independent with your tools. That gap, that's where careers stall before they even start. Okay, so how in the world do you bridge a gap that big? Well, this is where the blueprint from Metro College comes in. They're looking at this with a whole different philosophy, one that's built from the ground up for one thing: professional outcomes. And that philosophy really boils down to this one simple idea. It's not just about coding. It's about workforce preparation. It's a total mindset shift. You stop being a student who can write some code, and you start becoming a professional who can solve real problems with it. Okay, so how do they actually do that? Well, this is the how. The course literally simulates a real workplace. You're not babied with perfect data, you're thrown messy files. You have to install and configure your own tools. You have to deal with annoying file paths and system issues and deliver results on a deadline. This whole process forces you to build those independent troubleshooting skills that employers are begging for. And that's why they don't even call it a class. They call it a career launch platform, because that's what it is. It's a whole system designed to give you the complete package. The technical skills, sure, but also the analytical thinking and that crucial real-world readiness that makes you a valuable hire from the moment you walk in the door. Okay, philosophy is great, right? But what does thinking like an analyst actually look like on the ground? Let's pull back the curtain and get into the nuts and bolts of the professional RStudio workflow that students master here. You know, one of the first things you have to grasp, and it's absolutely critical, is that in a professional environment, you're always working in two different worlds. You've got your temporary workspace, which is kind of like your scratch pad, where you can experiment and test things out. And then you have your permanent record, which is the official, unbreakable blueprint of your analysis. And this diagram really nails it. See, your script on the left, that's your permanent file, your source of truth. When you run code, it gets sent over to the console. That's the engine room where the work happens. The console does its thing and then updates all your data and variables in your environment, which is just your temporary workspace. Getting this flow down is the absolute bedrock of professional, reproducible data work. And I really want to double-click on this idea of the script. In a professional setting, your script is everything. It's not a rough draft, it's not a suggestion. It is the final, reliable, reusable source of truth. Anyone, your boss, your teammate, should be able to grab that script, run it, and get the exact same result you did. That's the gold standard. And look, this is why it matters in the real world. A really well-written script isn't just a file on your computer, it's a business asset. As you see here, it can be saved, it can be shared, it can be run by the whole team to generate reports and insights that make the company money. This is how you turn raw data into actual business value. But you know, mastering the tools? That's really only half the battle. The other, arguably more important half, is learning how to use those tools to solve messy, real-world business problems. And this is where the training gets really interesting. So instead of some boring abstract exercise, you get dropped right into the deep end with these daily workplace simulations. Picture this. You log in and get a prompt just like this one. You're a data analyst at a bank, your manager needs a report, and oh, by the way, the data file is a mess. See? Instantly, you're not just coding, you're thinking like an analyst, figuring out what the business actually needs and how to deliver it. So you go through all this intense reality-based training, what's the point? It's all about the professional payoff, right? Let's take a look at the tangible, career-focused outcomes that this whole methodology is designed to create. This infographic is awesome because it shows you the entire journey, soup to nuts. You start on the left by mastering your toolkit, really getting comfortable in R and RStudio. Then, in the middle, you follow this super structured roadmap, building your skills logically. And finally, on the right, you see the payoff, real resume-ready skills for the jobs that are actually in high demand.
So, when you're sitting in that job interview, what's going to make you different? It comes down to these things right here. It's not just that you know R. It's that you can demonstrate structured thinking, that you can actually wrangle messy data, that you're independent and, this is a big one, that you have the resilience to troubleshoot your own problems. These are the absolute game changers for hiring managers.
And what's really cool is that this isn't just about locking you into R forever. Think of it more like building a foundational layer for your entire career. The core skills you build here, the way you think, the way you handle data, are directly transferable to the whole modern analytics world. And because you've learned how to think, not just what to type, you're suddenly ready for this whole ecosystem of high-demand roles. Whether you move into business intelligence, become a Tableau or Power BI wizard, or jump into SQL or Python, that core analytical thinking you've built is your ticket in. This training just opens up so many doors. So if there's one thing you take away from all of this, what should it be? Well, it's this. The goal isn't to be a student who can code. The goal is to be an analyst who is ready to walk in on day one and actually start contributing. It's about closing that gap between the classroom and the career, once and for all.